she likes to torture us. So I think TS12 could be next.
Getting a new album would be torturing you?
No.
She likes to torture us with new music.
How dare she?
Welcome to Hits Different.
Lee hee hee. I'm Ryan, and that's Molly.
Taylor is nominated for 6 American Music Awards. We're going to fill you in on why this awards show is important in the history of the re-records.
And we finally have an update on the trademarks for Reputation and Taylor Swift, Taylor's version.
And Taylor's music was featured in a new trailer, so of course, Swifties be clowning.
Make sure to subscribe on YouTube or follow us wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And if you'd like to give us some extra support, you can join our YouTube memberships or our Patreon. Our Patreon is where you can watch ad-free. The info for how to join either of those will be linked to in the description of this episode. If you didn't see the news, the trademarks for Reputation Taylor's version and Taylor Swift Taylor's version were approved for their 5th and final extension. Taylor and her team applied for this extension originally on January 23rd. You may remember that was a date that we were all clowning for heavily. And we had seen no updates on that request for the final extension until last week.
It was the moment we've been waiting for, and it's great to know that it finally got approved. Not like I was worried, but it still doesn't technically mean anything. So it just means that we're now halfway through when she actually has to use it, because you get a 6-month window with these extensions, but also she's up against, because it's the last extension, she's up against that notice of allowance date of August 16th. So we have about 3.5 months left. And then technically she can, refile and start the whole process over again, which I'm not rooting for because she's A, never done that. B, why? Why? She started the process back in 2021. So it's like, girl, you've had 4 years. Okay. You need more time? And I say this, but then it's like, sometimes I have that thought of like, what will we do when we're no longer clowning for Rep TV?
Like, what will we do with our lives?
What will we be doing? Like, so half
our
of
life
me's like,
purpose will be complete.
half of me's like, get it over with. The other half is like, but then what? So I think that's where a lot of people are at right now. It's like,
Then we can listen to Reputation Taylor's version. That's what I think about that often. I'm like, I just want to be able to listen to it. I just want to listen to the non-stolen version. And I don't want to have to always be playing it on vinyl. I can't go for a run and listen to my vinyl. I need the streamable versions.
I know I've definitely cheated a little bit in the last month, but that was the first time in a while. And I'm just living for the Bolt tracks. That's what I cannot wait.
I need all of it. I need all of it.
Anyway, so yeah, there's movement, but also no. We wait. We have 3.5 months.
Also, to be clear, when Ryan said she's never done this before, like let the trademark expire and then have to reapply, to be clear, that has happened actually before with many of the trademarks Taylor's filed for in the past. Some she's just let go by the wayside, and some she has reapplied for, but she's never done it for these Taylor's version trademarks.
Yeah. I don't care. Nobody even cared about her trademarks before the re-records. Actually, no one even cared about the trademarks really until the Rep TV debut, like the wait getting so long. It's like, really, I feel like in the last 6-ish months, we've all just like hyper fixated because it's the only thing that gives us like what we feel is a connection to Rep TV, even though it's not.
So to sum it all up, August 16th, 2025 is the next date that we should expect to see any sort of action on the trademark site for either Reputation Taylor's version or Taylor Swift Taylor's version, because by that point, Taylor will either need to refile for the trademark altogether, which would then give her another 3 years, or she like loses the trademark, which we know she's not going to let that happen.
Right.
So,
and it could obviously happen. She can actually use the trademark, of course, before August, but that is the deadline. So we will be standing by. It's going to be a long summer, so you never know.
Some may say it's going to be a cruel summer. Our next piece of news is that Taylor has been nominated for 6 American Music Awards. Taylor Nation announced this last week, posting, "Baby, she's the one to beat. Vote daily for the chairman at voteamas.com and tune in Monday, May 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS and Paramount Plus." She was nominated for Artist of the Year, Album of the Year for Torture Poets, Collab of the Year with Posty, Favorite Touring Artist, Favorite Female Pop Artist, Favorite Pop Album, Torture Poets.
And it's notable to mention that this is a fan voted event, award show. So we got this. You know what I mean? Usually that's where we shine and we come through.
Get to voting. We will link to it in the description of this episode, okay?
And of course, as any award show, you know, it wouldn't be an award show if people weren't clowning for something to happen. And like, I feel like I officially no longer actually clown for award shows anymore because...
Yeah, the iHeartRadio Awards was like the nail in the coffin.
It was too much, you know? So I'm not necessarily clowning for that date, but it's worth noting as well that people have realized that the date being 5/26, which is also Memorial Day, that's a side note. For those in America, it's Memorial Day. But the date 5/26 equals 13. I don't think Taylor planned that because obviously she didn't pick the date of the AMAs, but I'm sure she loves that it adds up. Obviously, she's nominated for 6 awards. Also don't think that was planned, but sure she loves that. Also, the last time that she performed at the AMAs was 2019, right during the madness of the re-record announcement and all of the drama with Big Machine Records. And she was awarded Artist of the Decade, and she started the performance in a white button-up with all of her stolen albums written on the shirt, which I'm only just now noticing that she had Reputation and Taylor Swift, Taylor's version, on the arms, which I'm like, okay, so there's 2 of them at the same time because we have 2 arms. Debutation? Question mark? Just wanted to throw that out there.
So you're saying Taylor's been hinting at debutation since 2019?
I mean, Fearless is on the back, and it was first. It's the only album on the back. And then she has Speak Now, Red, and 1989 on the front. And you can't tell me that the order of those albums was not on purpose.
Maybe. The drama that Ryan was just alluding to with Big Machine Records and Scott Borchetta and Scooter Braun, in case you're not familiar with that whole situation, don't worry. We are going to dig into all of this once we get these final announcements and kind of take you through the timeline of things that happened around the Reputation era or shortly after. But the quickest way to explain it for right now is that in 2019 is when Big Machine Records sold Taylor's music. Therefore, like Ryan was just indicating, the whole plan for the re-records then got set into motion. So Big Machine Records gets sold. Then Taylor releases Lover. That's her first album that she fully owned herself with the new record label. And then by the time that she performed for this Artist of the Decade award in 2019 at the AMAs, it had gotten really dramatic out there because they weren't going to let her perform her old music during this Artist of the Decade performance. And she ended up having to post about it online, and it was a really big deal. And she finally got the approval and was able to perform some of her biggest hits from the albums that she didn't own yet. But again, it just kind of laid the groundwork for why Taylor is even recording all of these things as Taylor's versions. And to bring that back around now to 2025, it's just very interesting that all of this was happening the last time she performed. And like Ryan said, she was wearing all of the albums on her shirt. Who would have thought that 6 years later, 2 of those albums she still wouldn't own yet?
6 years later. That was probably the last time, outside of obviously the Eras Tour, that she performed for live television any of the stolen versions. Because why else? I mean, why would she, right? Like, why would she have been like performing any of those 5 albums in any other capacity.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can't think of another time that she's done a medley or something like that since the 2019 performance, because when she performed at the Grammys in 2021, she did just Folklore and Evermore songs. So
Right.
she
It was, like,
owned all
new.
of those.
Yeah. So the Eras Tour. I mean, yeah, again, that's not like crazy, because why else would she? But still, it's kind of interesting that that's the last time before the Eras Tour.
Mm-hmm. And it's not the last time she went to the AMAs, though. In 2022, she won the award for Artist of the Year, and she was there to accept that. So it's notable that she's nominated for Artist of the Year again. Maybe that means she might go this time. Who knows? And in that 2022 acceptance speech, she again was talking about the re-records, because the whole reason she was there in 2022 and won Artist of the Year was because Fearless and Red Taylor's version had already come out, and the All Too Well short film won all these awards. So hence Taylor winning Artist of the Year in 2022.
So we will see. But yeah, we're not clowning, you know? just a little bit of clown.
I'm not even going to clown for if she's going to go or not. It's just interesting that there are specific ties to the Taylor's versions at the AMAs. That's all we're saying here.
Yeah. I mean, I think the AMAs are more important than the iHeart Awards, to be fair. No shade to that. But so I'm like, if she's going to show up.
Maybe.
For those listening, I'm just bopping around being like, maybe. I don't know. I'm like a human.
It's also Memorial Day, and we know our girl loves a holiday. So maybe she will be
true. She's probably mad.
Enjoying her holiday weekend somewhere.
She's like, why is it on Memorial Day?
As for other things that Taylor Nation posted last week, they also jumped in on this social media trend where people were putting on their videos, almost forgot this is the whole point. And it's a video of Taylor at the Eras Tour. It's during, I think, after a Cruel Summer, when she's really like taken in the crowd for the first time. And they posted it and said, that's our whole world.
So of course, you know, people had clowning to do with this. And like a big thing they noted was, you know, that's a clip where it's just us enamored by Taylor, as if we're not always anyway, but, you know, cheering for her. And it's like, oh, that's the whole point. It's like, I get it, but it's like, are we bringing that back around? Like, that's the whole point.
It's you and me. That's our whole world.
It's also giving kind of Mirrorball
Is a documentary
vibes.
Or a movie coming?
People were saying, like, didn't we just learn anything from the whole Mirrorball being performed at the iHeart, the throwback to the Eras Tour? It's like, you know, she's a Mirrorball. It's like, and then here you are showing a clip of her essentially like being everything that we want her to be and just being out there dazzling. And it's kind of interesting. And then I loved some people were like, yeah, instead of clowning for this, like maybe it just literally is what it is. I was like, it probably is in this case. It's just us cheering for Taylor. That's the whole point.
Yeah, there's the part of me that thinks that getting a documentary or an Eras Tour movie 2.0 is the most realistic thing to clown for at this point. And so anytime that they post anything that's Eras Tour related right now, I'm like, oh, is this another clue? But yeah,
what else are they going to post? Tortured Poets is now over a year ago. I mean, we still get some of that, but it's like, it's either Tortured Poets or Eras Tour. There's nothing else going on.
I just mean they don't have to participate in this random social media trend. It's not like they hop on all the trends all the time.
They just like to be problematic. I mean, you know that they know that anytime they post now, we're all freaking out. People were counting. They used the like bedazzle, I guess is the best way to call it, emoji, like where it's like a star
like
with like
3 little stars.
People are like, there's 3 stars. And like, are we serious? I know this is one of those moments where it's like coming from me, you're like, am I really judging other people who are clowning? But I'm like, come on, guys, come on. We're not counting the stars within the Apple emoji. Like, we're not.
Yeah, that emoji's been around for a long time. It's not Taylor Swift specific,
it's just
and they use it a lot.
Yeah, it's a good emoji, you know? It's a little sparkle,
it's a good emoji.
Little like...
We use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never used 2 of them being like, there's 6 stars. Did you count? Anyway, I digress. It was random. Doesn't mean anything. Who the heck knows? No one knows anything. Just like when they overhyped Tortured Poets anniversary all to lead to a merch drop, you know, they'd be out here doing the most because they're bored too. They're like, I don't know, Tay's like living her life. So like, what are we going to do? Like, we got to have a job, post about this trend, you know, get to work.
I don't think they overhyped the Tortured Poets birthday. I think we always just think things mean something. So we were like, oh, okay. But they were just celebrating the birthday. Like you said, they're just doing their job.
We're going to be posted every day, all week leading up to the anniversary.
Now, moving on to a topic that will bring back your clown side as you just try to troll people about counting the stars and the emojis. The other piece of Taylor news last week, which isn't even really Taylor news, it's just like Swiftie fangirl news, is that The Summer I Turned Pretty, which was a book trilogy turned into an Amazon series, released the trailer for the third and final season last week. And if you follow us on Instagram, you saw us posting about this. The reason that we're bringing this up is because this show uses Taylor's music all the time. They've used it all throughout the first 2 seasons. And so when this third season trailer dropped and they used the songs Daylight and Red Taylor's version, everyone was super excited about it because it fits the theme perfectly of the trailer. But then, as the Swifties gonna do, they started clowning because of this trailer.
And Swifties pay attention to the Taylor music that they use, not just because it's Taylor, but also because 2 years ago, they debuted Delicate, Taylor's version, on the show. And obviously we don't have Rep TV yet, so.
They also debuted Back to December, Taylor's version, in the trailer for the second season, which it was about, I think, a couple weeks, maybe just like a week before Speak Now Taylor's version dropped. Like, we already knew we were getting Speak Now Taylor's version, and then we ended up getting the trailer and getting to hear a snippet of Back to December before the album actually came out, which was really cool.
So, talking about the songs that they chose in our clown notes for today's lesson, they played Daylight and Red, Taylor's version. Daylight is from the 7th album, Lover. Red is, if you think about the OG, Red, it's from the 4th album. So that's 7-4. Just to interrupt myself, a lot of people, myself kind of now included, are clowning for a July 4th something. So Daylight is from Taylor's 7th album, and Red is from, technically the OG Red album is the 4th album, but because they used Taylor's version, it was the 11th album that she's like put out there into the universe. And 1 + 1 is 2. Red, the song as well, is track 2. So you have 2 + 2 still gives you 4, which leaves us with a 7-4 combination. And the other, like, tying to July, that's just like a very easy Easter egg, which people keep talking about, is how often we've seen Taylor wear rubies as of late. And it's not just because of the Chiefs, okay? The birthstone of July is a ruby. And so I was telling Molly literally yesterday that I'm starting to think that July 4th might not be a Rep TV date because, you know, the Endgame lyric, after the storm, something was born on the 4th of July. All the other things that are pointing to Rep on that day, I'm starting to think once again it could be a red herring and we could be getting TS12 on July 4th with an announcement happening before then, but like with a drop. I don't know. It makes so much sense. We've been seeing so much Red. We don't know, but we think there's going to be a lot of Travis on this album. It's going to be, you know, and what better than the summer, and because she likes to torture us. So I think TS12 could be next.
Getting a new album would be torturing you?
No.
She likes to torture us with new music.
How dare she? Dang it, the 4th of July is only for Rep TV. Don't you know the lyric? But I'm like, it's the perfect, and it's a double entendre. It's a red herring. See what I did there? It's red. And Loving Him was red. I mean, if you think about the song choice they used, it's like, here we go again, talking about the color red.
The other fun nugget that I don't think we've said on the podcast yet, but we've seen people put into the comments, is that Taylor, over the last 3 Grammys she's attended, has worn red, white, and blue.
Yes.
Which is also why people are tying into July 4th.
Oh my God, there's so many reasons.
American flag colors.
The stars, we keep seeing stars everywhere. I mean, the list goes on. People are locked into this date. And as far as the announcement date, people are clowning for May 2nd. There's a lot of anniversary day of the Met Gala, Harry Potter Horcruxes. We won't get into that. And it's also a palindrome, the date. It's like the same forward and backwards. This episode will already be out by this date, but a lot of people were talking about like, do you really want to know where I was April 29th? I don't know. What
April 29th. Happy April 29th to those who celebrate. And if you don't know what we're referring to with the Met Gala was referred to specifically in Getaway Car. Think about the place where you first met me is a double meaning to the Met Gala.
Bleachella era.
I just can't wait. Whenever Reputation is announced, we're going to like fully deep dive all of these things and catch anyone up who wasn't involved in the Swiftie lore at that time. But it's just so good. It's so good.
It's very lore heavy album out of all the albums. So there will be a lot.
At least for us, because that's like the album where we knew the lore.
Right.
So yeah. I think we're a little bit biased.
It was wild times though. I mean, the things that inspired Reputation are wild.
To close the loop of the Summer I Turned Pretty clowning, the one anti-clown thing that I will put out there, which I don't want to be the anti-clown, to be clear for everyone. I like to clown.
There's the anti-hero and the anti-clown.
I like to clown. I think the whole Daylight Red 7/4 thing is just a bit of a stretch because everyone's jumping on like, oh, this trailer just came out and it's using Taylor's songs and it must mean something. It must be a message. But like we were saying, they've used Taylor's music a lot in this show. And I went back and double checked just to confirm. The trailer for the very first season used This Love, Taylor's version. It was already released at that point that came out. Then the second season trailer, like I already said, used Back to December, Taylor's version, which technically was a preview. Also, they used August in that trailer. So there were two songs. So I just kind of think, as someone who's read the book, Ryan has not read the book yet. The fact that they chose Daylight and read Taylor's version, I feel like is actually just way more logical to the storyline of the books, and they fit perfectly, and that's what they mean. And the whole 7/4 thing is just a convenient thing to use to support the July 4th theories. This creative choice was more based in logic for the storytelling of what's going on with these characters.
I'm so tired of the mathing and adding up. I hate it so much. There's so many things that add up, but I'm like, how?
Now it's time for Tay Therapy. In our last episode, we asked you all to send in your Tortured Poets themed Tay Therapy submissions, and we received so many good ones, including some voice memos as well. We are going to be sharing all of these stories over our next however many episodes it takes to tell them. So keep sending them in. The info for how to do that will be in the description of this episode. And here is our first submission from Karen. I'm 58 years old. I have listened to Taylor's radio hits for years, but my first complete album was the Tortured Poets Department. From there, I have slowly worked my way backwards through her discography. You understand what a special artist she is once you deep dive into her whole catalog and the way she tells her story or your story. Whether it's something you've lived through personally or can relate to in your friends or family's lives, there is a cathartic connection to others through her music. I'm at the age where many songs remind me of things past, both good and bad, and I love knowing that we are not alone in the world, even when it seems that way at times. Love listening to you both. I enjoy this podcast so much. Thank you, Karen, for writing that in. And this one is like the perfect example for what Tay Therapy is. How does Taylor's music relate to your life? What does it make you think of in your own journey, your friends or family's journeys? And hopefully it makes you feel a little bit less alone.
And for Karen's first complete album to be Tortured Poets, dang. And that's a long one too. So you really committed. We had someone on our last episode, same thing, where the first, joining the Swiftum at Tortured Poets is a very fun and unique place to start, and it's a really good place to start. And then you can just spend all this time going backwards and listening to all of her other discography.
And it just proves how much TTPD resonated with so many people. I remember we thought when the album came out and how it was received by some people saying it was too long or whatever, or maybe certain songs sounded too similar to other songs. And we were like, I guess this album's just for the Swifties because we're good with all 31 songs. Thank you, Taylor. Don't cut out anything. We want the whole story. Even if you don't circle back and listen to every single song on repeat, it's still all part of this big story that Taylor was sharing with us. Karen's submission here proves almost like the opposite point of what I thought, which is actually, I wasn't a Swiftie. Tortured Poets was so good and it spoke to me in such a way that I've now gone back and listened to all of her old music.
I know. It's like we were like, oh, Tortured Poets is for the fans, which I still think there's a huge part of that that's the case. But again, obviously not, because there's so many people that have joined the Swiftum at Tortured Poets. And it's like, now I'm a fan. That's pretty awesome. As I've said 1,000 times, Tortured Poets encompasses, in my opinion, like all of her discography in terms of like tone and melodies and just everything. So it actually kind of does make sense that people would join now. Our next submission comes from Chrissy. TTPD is a very important album for me because I had just separated from my husband about 3 months prior to the release. 2024 was a challenging year because I had a lot of anger and sadness due to my marriage challenges because I felt so unseen and unimportant to the man who was supposed to be the person who supports me the most. TTPD got me through a lot of my struggles, and listening to the entire album became a daily therapy session for me. It was not only a distraction, but it was also a way for me to cope with my situation. I have 2 daughters, 12 and 9.5 as of now, who are mega Swifties, and we bonded pretty hard over TTPD, and to this day, it's very much a part of my daily life. So, as I've said also 1,000 times, I can relate to you, Chrissy. I'm just like the reverse, where mine was like 3 months after Tortured Poets came out, where I went through a really bad breakup. And daily therapy session, 100%. Still a daily therapy session. Taylor's music is free and it saves me a lot of money because,
I also really loved that Chrissy's submission mentioned bonding over Tortured Poets with her 2 daughters, because again, I think of it as a more mature album, for people who have lived a little bit more life. But then, you see the videos of Swifties who are younger, screaming out the smallest man who ever lived, or who's afraid of little me, or whatever, at the top of their lungs, singing with their whole chest. And so that's why I'm picturing like Chrissy with her kids, if they bonded over Tortured Poets, that they just can have these scream sessions to the songs on TTPD together. And it doesn't matter how old you are or what life experiences you've been through, you can still find a way to love these songs.
Taylor out here raising them right, like these little girls have no idea, I would hope, what that kind of heartbreak is. That is the smallest man who ever lived, but they still know it's a banger, We all relate to her songs differently. We think of different memories, and yet we are all united.
And our final submission today is from Shannon. Shannon writes in, I have a very tricky relationship with my mom because she has never cared about me and loved my brother more and treated me awfully. When I discovered Taylor for the first time, she helped me through so much, and Tortured Poets put it all into perspective for me. More specifically, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, and also LOML, and I Hate It Here helped me to realize that I needed to cut contact, and so I did. It's been really hard for me, but Tay has helped me, and especially Tortured Poets. Also, You're Losing Me and Tolerate It, because Taylor's music is just that versatile that I can relate it to my own situations, and it's just really helped me.
Just want to start out by saying that, Shannon, I feel for you. I empathize immensely with your relationship with your mom, because I also have a strained relationship with mine. Thank you for sharing this, because it's not easy. And I love that Taylor can be your therapy as well. And it's even more interesting that, I listen to Tortured Poets from the lens of relationships, because that's how it relates to me in my life. But it's always so cool to hear other people talk about listening to it and relating it to a family member or a child, or just a completely different experience than the one that I am used to. And just shows how her music just really spans across all different life experiences depending on what you're going through. Same thing with You're Losing Me and Tolerate It. Those are 2 songs that I strictly listen to from the lens of being heartbroken. But but you're heartbroken in a totally different way and not necessarily about a relationship, and yet it's still relevant.
Right. Yeah. Not a romantic relationship, but a different kind of relationship, whether that's with a parent or a friend or a coworker. You know, we've had people write in recently about job choices and how making those types of decisions, they found songs from Taylor's discography to help. And I think that's been the most interesting part of all of these Tay Therapy submissions that Ryan and I have been reading is thinking, oh, I might have heard this song and applied it to this way in my life, and I never thought about it from that perspective. So again, like Ryan was just saying, some of these songs like Loss of My Life, LOML, or You're Losing Me, thinking of that from having to cut ties with a family member who is bringing this kind of toxicness into your life and you have to separate from, that is so hard. And I'm just glad that you at least had songs that maybe helped you to put your feelings into words and feel the feelings that you needed to feel and know that you're not alone in going through that. And like Ryan said, I'm so sorry that you've experienced this. We're glad that you're here and that you found a Swiftie community to share this story with.
Yeah, it's crazy how you can listen to a song and if it's evoking sadness, for example, your brain just does the work and it's like, okay, this makes me sad, but why? And then obviously in Shannon's case, it's like, because of what you have going on with your mom and your brother, and the association with music it's such a wild journey that just like, you know, your brain's like, wait, I'm affected by this, but I don't know why.
And sometimes things will happen later on in your life. You'll go back to listen to a different Taylor song and have a totally new way of listening to it. I know that's happened for both Ryan and I before. Yeah, we're just lucky to be Swifties and be able to live our lives with these emotions put into such a way that we can relate to them and all these different things we might be going through.
Yeah, it's all very fluid. It's not permanent. So a song might make you think about someone now, but you might listen to Who's Afraid of Little Me a year or two from now and think about it completely different, and maybe think about it from like a confidence perspective, you know, or like just totally different. It's like it's ever changing.
Thank you so much again to Karen, Chrissy, and Shannon for writing those in. Again, if we haven't read your submission or played your voice memo yet, don't worry. It will come in a future episode, and we're so thankful to all of you for sharing your stories with us. It truly means a lot.
And also, a lot of the stories that y'all have been submitting lately have been involving tortured poets, but if another album has resonated with you, please send those over as well. We do not discriminate, and we know Taylor has a huge discography.
Again, the link to either fill out the form or leave us a voice memo will be in the description of this episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure to subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening to this podcast. Bye.
Bye.